وذكر فإن الذكرى تنفع المؤمنين.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الأمين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد. Perhaps we've been in suspense for a whole week thinking about this, the people who found the dam of Ya'juj and Ma'juj. Well, Ibn Kathir mentions that in Al-Bidayah wa Nihaya, the search for the dam, the barrier behind which Ya'juj and Ma'juj are trapped. And this was during the time of the Khalifa Al-Wathiq, 232 after the Hijrah, who died at that point, and from the Abbasid dynasty. He, in a dream, saw that the wall or the barrier of Ya'juj and Ma'juj like opened up and that they came out and so on and so forth. So then he sent an expedition of something like 60 men under the leadership of a man by the name of Salam al-Turjuman. And he was given this nickname because he spoke 30 languages, something like that. And they went out, and then it in detail mentions how many camels he took with him, how many horses he took, how many donkeys he took, how many men, and how many died on the way to find it, and how many died on the way back. How they decided which direction to go in, all these things we don't know. And which direction did they go in exactly? We're not exactly sure, we don't have these exact details. But after 2 years, they found this area. They found the barrier of Ya'juj and Ma'juj. And he even describes that he found some of the materials that were used to build the dam, that, you know, for melting the metal, and they had some things that were left outside like that. And then he said it was huge and really, really tall or high, and no mountains next to it. What does that mean? Like there were no mountains next to it, so they couldn't climb up the mountain, so they could get up on top of the barrier or look over or anything like that. So basically, and they didn't have any type of machinery or mechanism to throw a rope that high over it so they could climb over it. Basically, they documented all that, and then they came back, and a bunch of the men, also the people, died on the way back. Now, can we know for sure if that was the dam? And it's also strange, like why were there no mountains around it? Wasn't it Saddain, right? 2 mountains that had no other way in or out. It's possible that maybe what he looked at was the mountain itself covered up, you know, or the front of it covered up. But the point is that, do we know for sure if this was the dam or not? It's possible, and it's also possible that it wasn't the dam. And it mentions that he went to the northeast, but northeast of what? I mean, it just wasn't very clear. But the point is that even if he did find the dam, it's possible that actually was it. Why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow them to find it, and He didn't allow us to find it? And there are really 2 answers there, all right? Number 1, they knew that it's possible that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed them to see it or find it and will not allow us because, number 1, with whatever weapons and machinery and technology they had available, they couldn't make a hole through it or collapse it or open it anyways. So if they saw it, it's harmless. If we find it, we have the capacity and the machinery to break it open. And we will break it open because that's just how we are. We have to meddle, all right? We have to bring these people democracy. We have to check if they have oil so we can kill them and take their oil. I'm kidding, of course. We would never leave them alone. You know, we have to show them iPhones, you know, so they can start taking pictures of their food. So we wouldn't leave them alone, and that's why Allah in His wisdom could have allowed them, if it is what they found, if it is what it is, then that would be part of that wisdom. Because they wouldn't meddle, we would meddle. They couldn't open it. If they wanted to, we could open it. And until today, by the way, there are people who have not come in contact with the rest of the world, or what, quote unquote, and I use this term very loosely, civilized man. Okay? I always give the example of North Sentinel Island. North Sentinel Island. So you go off India, right? You're going east, traveling on the ocean, and continue for a while, you'll get to this little island known as North Sentinel Island. And these people have had little to no contact with outsiders, basically. But for years, people have been trying to go to them and meddle and all that stuff until the Indian government forbade anyone going to that region. But after the tsunami, I forget what year the tsunami was, 2000 something, early 2000s, they tried to go and check if they were okay. A helicopter flew over the island and people came, and there's a picture, you can, if you Google North Sentinel Island, the Sentinelese are that's the name of the people. You'll see a picture taken from a helicopter, and this guy's trying to shoot the arrow at the helicopter. So they want to be left alone. I think it was in 2012 or something, or 2002. There was two fishermen. They were on a boat and they fell asleep, and it took them next to the island, and the islanders came on their boats and killed them, basically. So they want to be left alone, and we don't want to leave them alone. And the same would happen to Ya'juj and Ma'juj. But that was that expedition, and it's very possible that they could have found the dam of Ya'juj and Ma'juj. So how will they escape? They're behind this dam for a long period of time. They've been behind it for a while. And Dhul Qarnayn was able to trap them behind it because they weren't there. They were deep inside wherever they are, and he just closed the entrance. Because some people ask, how come Dhul Qarnayn could contain them, and then later on Isa ibn Maryam, as we'll see, he couldn't contain them? And the answer is that, just like I explained, and when they come out, they will come out angry, extremely angry. And that's why they start killing everyone on earth. Because you guys are the ones who trapped us here. That's why they come out so angry. All right. So every day, and we said Allah mentioned and hinted that it would have been easier, right, for them to climb over the dam than to make a hole through it. But every single day, they try to dig through and break through this barrier. And they get near to it, and at the end of the day, the one in charge of them, the hadith says the one in charge of them. So that means they were organized, and there's like the foreman now who's in charge and he's getting all the workers to do the work. So it's every day when they almost break through, the one in charge says, we will continue, tomorrow we will break through. And they come back the next day, and it's completely sealed off again, and they have to start all over from zero. And this has been going on for thousands of years. Going back to lend strength to two arguments. Number one, the argument that said that they were not very intelligent people because they never thought to climb over. It could be due to the lack of intelligence. We also said it could be due to the fact that Allah steered them away from that so they don't come out. Right? Then the second thing is, they've been for thousands of years now. They'll dig, they almost get through, and then and it also says until they were almost about to see the light or the sunlight. So they almost break through, then they come back tomorrow. This foreman says, okay, tomorrow we will break through. They come back tomorrow and the thing starts all over again. Thousands of years, none of you thought, hey, let's have two shifts, night shift and a day shift. When the day shift starts, the other one will continue and we'll bust through this thing finally. But they don't think of that at all. No one even thinks to fire this guy, the foreman, let's call him. Anyways, but then one day, the guy in charge will say, we will break through tomorrow, insha'Allah. Okay. So, how do they know what insha'Allah is? Do they speak Arabic? Are they Muslim? None of the above, right? So, the scholar said it could be that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will inspire him to say this word insha'Allah. And maybe it's not from their language, not from their culture. They don't even know what it means. When he says insha'Allah, everyone else looks at him and says Gesundheit, you know. They don't know what he's saying. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the scholars say, wanted to make insha'Allah because they only come out by the will of Allah. This is a decree. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala willed. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted that word to be part of why they come out. So he says, tomorrow we will break through, insha'Allah. And then everyone looks at him. I'm making this part up. What? He's like, I don't know. But let's come back tomorrow. They come back tomorrow and it looks exactly the same. And that day they break through. And okay, and they will emerge. All right. So, and there's a beautiful and a popular hadith, Sahih Bukhari and Muslim, where the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and it's narrated by Zainab bint Jahsh radiallahu anha. She narrates that the Prophet woke up distraught at night, and he says, "La ilaha illallah, none has a right to be worshipped except Allah. Waylun lil Arab min sharrin qad iqtarab. Woe to the Arabs from an evil that has drawn near. Woe to the Arabs from an evil that has drawn near. Today there has been an opening in the dam of Ya'juj and Ma'juj like this." Then she says, he made a circle with his thumb and forefinger, like that. For those people who are saying figuratively, what does this mean figuratively? That there's an opening in the dam this big. That's figurative, or that's very, very clear and literal? Anyways, so a number of issues about this hadith. They said, we said it's in the Bukhari and Muslim, so no issues with this authenticity. The issues of discussion were, why did the Prophet say, woe to the Arabs? So some scholars said it is possible that when they emerge, they will basically affect the Arabs more than anyone. Maybe the Arabs will be most afflicted by Ya'juj and Ma'juj more than anyone else at the time. That's why the Prophet said, woe to the Arabs from an evil that has drawn near. وَيْلٌ لِلْعَرَبْ مِنْ شَرٍّ قَدْ اقْتَرَبْ. Now, the other explanation, some scholars said, if you looked at the Muslims at that time, the Muslims were almost 100% were Arab at that moment. Now today they're less than 18%. But at that moment, all the Muslims were Arab. So if the Prophet ﷺ said, woe to the Arabs back then, it meant woe to the Muslims from an evil that has drawn near. And that's a very, very reasonable explanation. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. So they will emerge, and وَهُمْ مِنْ كُلِّ حَدَبٍ يَنْسِلُونَ. Allah Azza wa Jal described that they're descending from every mount, and it's as if you can see them. You're looking at the horizon, and just every mountain, they're just coming down. Every hill, they're just running down that hill. And they will drink entire lakes dry. They will come by a lake, and the first one will drink. And when the last one comes out, he'll say there used to be water here. So that means they're really immense in number. And they will wreak havoc and destruction, and they will try to kill every person on earth. You're the ones who trapped us for thousands of years. And they don't know the difference. They don't care if you're Muslim, Christian, Buddhist, atheist. They want to kill everybody. And for the most part, they really actually conquer the earth. So let's look at it here from the perspective of the believers with Isa ibn Maryam, alayhi salatu wassalam. So they will be, Isa alayhi salam, we said, will just kill the Dajjal. And the hadith says, فَبَيْنَمَا هُمْ كَذَلِكَ. While they're in that state, someone announces that Ya'juj and Ma'juj have come out. And then another hadith mentions that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reveal to Isa ibn Maryam, I have revealed some ibad here, some servants, meaning not worshippers, but some servants or some slaves of mine, that no one on earth can handle them. And what's beautiful here, it shows you Isa alayhi salam is human. He's a great prophet, but he's human, not divine, not superpowers. But if you remember, just a while ago, people were dying from his breath until the horizon. That's a strong power. So why wouldn't he just breathe on Ya'juj and Ma'juj? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, taking that power away, shows you that only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is divine. Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the all-powerful. Even though Isa comes down with this incredible power, it's gone. Yeah? That's a very important point. Anyways, so فَأَسْرِي بِعِبَادِي إِلَى الطُّورِ. Allah reveals to Isa alayhi salam, فَأَسْرِي بِعِبَادِي إِلَى الطُّورِ. So take my servants, meaning the believers who are with Isa alayhi salam, to the mountain of At-Tur. Some scholars said it is the mountain of At-Tur in the Sinai Peninsula in Egypt. Others said this is At-Tur in Palestine. And the scholars said, how will it fit? How will it fit all these believers? And there are two answers. One group said Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make it fit the believers, because there are many and it's small. And the others said that it could be another Tur. At that point, there's another place known as a Tur, and so they all go hide there in that mountain. So, in the meantime, so Isa ibn Maryam and the believers are hiding and they're seeking refuge in a Tur. And they will start to make continuous dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to get rid of Ya'juj and Ma'juj. But, of course, they continue killing everyone on earth. And they will be, the believers will be in immense poverty here with Isa ibn Maryam, in immense poverty. The Prophet ﷺ says, حَتَّى يَكُونَ رَأْسُ الثَّوْرِ لِأَحَدِهِمْ خَيْرٌ مِّن مِّئَةِ دِينَارٍ لِأَحَدِكُمُ الْيَوْمِ. That until the head of an ox, and there's not much meat in the head of the ox. But the Prophet ﷺ said, until the head of the ox is more beloved to them than 100 gold dinars to one of you today. And it will be worth more than 100 gold dinars. That's how the amount, the degree of poverty and difficulty that they're living in while they're hiding there in At-Tur. So, then they will kill everyone on earth, Ya'juj and Ma'juj. So then they will say, we have killed, this is from the hadith, we have killed those who are upon the earth. Now let us kill those who are in the heavens or the sky. So then they will start to shoot their arrows towards the sky. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will cause these arrows to return back, to return down, besmeared with blood. So then they will say that they have conquered those that are in the heavens as well. And in the meantime, Isa ibn Maryam and the believers who are with him in At-Tur are making sincere dua. So now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala destroys Ya'juj and Ma'juj, and He destroys them with an-naghaf, which is some worm-like creature or insect that comes. And it enters them and it goes to their brain. So this powerful group, they're huge in numbers, they're strong, they conquer the earth, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala destroys them with a simple, weak creature. And we've seen this before. And Namrud, if you remember, that the not very intelligent king at the time of Ibrahim alayhi salam. And Namrud said, build me a tower and I'll climb up and I'll fight this other god, astaghfirullah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala teaches him a simple lesson. The story mentions that a mosquito goes and stays right in his navel cavity. And it just sits there, just buzzing and tickling. Just sitting there. And of course, you can imagine how unbelievably annoying that is. And they tried to pour water and oil and smoke it out, whatever. Doesn't work. And it's just there, tickling and just buzzing and irritating the whole time. At night, like he could not sleep, not for one split second, because it's just sitting there, buzzing and tickling. Not for one split second. So they mention, the narration, these stories, they mention that how did they put him to sleep then? Like he could not sleep at all for days. So they would have to basically beat him and slap him with slippers until he's knocked out unconscious, right? And that's probably the only time any servant in any king's palace enjoyed his occupation, enjoyed his job. He'll come, Your Highness, I think it's time for a nap. And start beating him, right? Anyways, but we see this theme that's really interesting, that someone who claims to be powerful or actually is powerful is destroyed by a very small and simple and weak creature from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends a naghaf, and the Prophet describes that they die كَمَوْتِ نَفْسٍ وَاحِدَةٍ. What does that mean? They die the death of one soul. Like if one soul dies, how does it die? It dies like just instantly like that. But if millions of people get sick, people have different strength of their bodies and immune systems. So if billions of people get sick, they're not all going to die in one split second. One group will start coughing the first day and then die the next day. The next day, the other group starts coughing, and they don't die but here, كَنَفْسٍ وَاحِدَةٍ, they die like how one person dies. So you can imagine these millions of people standing like this, and then they all drop down like that. That's the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So now, the believers are still hiding in the mountain of At-Tur, and they will ask, can anyone go and check and see if they're dead or not? And then one person volunteers. And then one narration mentions they bid him farewell because he's not coming back. They're going to kill him once they see him. So this person says goodbye to everybody. He volunteers and he's sacrificing. So he goes and he looks out and he finds millions and millions of bodies of Ya'juj and Ma'juj everywhere on earth. Comes back happy, tells them the news that they're all dead, and the Isa alayhi salam and the believers go out, but the earth stinks now because they're carcasses, like everywhere stinks. They're rotting carcasses, millions of them. So, or billions, Allahu A'lam. Anyways, the point is that then the believers again make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah Azza wa Jal will send birds with necks like camels, the Prophet ﷺ says. And they will carry the bodies of Ya'juj and Ma'juj and they will take them to where Allah wills, or some say that they'll throw them in the oceans. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will cause a thick, heavy rain to come down on earth, and it will cleanse the earth. The Prophet ﷺ says, فَتُصْبِحُ كَالزَّلَفَ. It becomes like a mirror. The earth will be clean. And then, this is where there's now real and true peace on earth. It will be said to the earth, the Prophet ﷺ says in the hadith, it will be said to the earth, أَنْبِتِي ثَمَارَتَكِ وَرُدِّي بَرَكَتَكِ. Bring out your fruits and return your original barakah, blessing. So now, one cow will be able to, will provide enough milk, enough for an entire village. One sheep for an entire family. A pomegranate will be so huge that a group of people can eat it, and a group of them can be shaded under its skin, or or from the rain or what have you. That's how big. And it'll be world peace for real this time. We said lions will mingle with camels, and tigers will mingle with cows, and wolves will mingle with sheep. And the child will put their hand in the hole or hold a snake, and it will not strike them. And this will remain for about 40 years. And in the meantime, Isa alayhi salam will perform Hajj, and he will come to the grave of the Prophet ﷺ and send salah upon him. And we mentioned the Prophet ﷺ will return the salam. And in this time period, it's so beautiful. The Prophet ﷺ described حتى تكون السجدة الواحدة خير من الدنيا وما فيها. Until the one sajda is better than the world and everything in it. Nobody has to work. There's no desire for the dunya. Only believers, only Muslims on the planet. There's nobody else. Just believers, just righteous people, and they just witnessed some incredible things. So there's not going to be a hypocrite around. There's not going to be one wicked person around. And it's just true. What a beautiful time. Such a beautiful time. I remember some years ago I was in Finland for a conference. And so they did some kind of entertainment session. And they were asking me all kinds of questions. And they said, if you could choose to live at any time, what time would you live? I said, I know the people's first answer is, I would want to live at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, because everybody thinks they're going to be Abu Bakr. How do you know you're not going to be with Abu Jahl? The Battle of Badr, how do you know which side you're going to be on? There's a risk there. But I said, I would love to be with the righteous people who live with Isa ibn Maryam after Ya'juj and Ma'juj and the Dajjal is over with. This is the most amazing time. This is also one of the explanations of the minor sign of the hour, that the believers will not see a dream except that it will come true. And a lot of them believe that's this time here. There are no false dreams. The shaitan has no power. There are only believers, no hypocrites. Beautiful, beautiful time. There's barakah and khair. What an amazing, amazing time. Anyways, so then Isa alayhi salam said will continue like that. Some scholars mention that he will get married also and have children. Obviously we don't know for sure. And it's also not proper for any sister to say, Ya Allah, make me that person who marries Isa ibn Maryam. Because the etiquette is when in dua, you're not specific with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ya Allah, give me an orange house in Jannah. If you don't get an orange, you don't want to go, or what? So that's why there's some rudeness if you are being very specific with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in dua. Anyways, that for the most part is the story of Ya'juj and Ma'juj. Then Isa alayhi salam, when he's buried, when he dies, the believers then bury him. Some scholars believe that he will be buried right next to the Prophet ﷺ and Abu Bakr and Umar, because there is space for one man there, but we don't know. But what if somebody says, but the prophets are buried where they die? And Isa alayhi salam, he would have to be buried where he dies. He can't be standing at that place. But also don't forget that he's not coming back as a new prophet, but as a follower of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. The point is, we're not going to concern ourselves too much with that. From this point, we get to the khasf, the landslide, or the earth swallowing up in the east, west Arabian Peninsula. That's 3 signs right there. Then we've got the smoke, that's 4. Then we've got the beast, that's 5. And then we have the fire, right? And then the sun rising from the west. And if you count the ones we covered already, then we will be done with the 10 major signs before the Day of Judgment. Believe it or not, they're actually very short. So in tomorrow's episode, we're going to finish all the 10 or the rest of the 10 major signs, and then describe a little bit of the beginning of the Day of Judgment. Jazakumullah khairan for your attentive listening. وصلى اللهم وبارك على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.